In the tapestry of Spain's history, few figures stand as vividly, or as controversially, as Saint James Matamoros, also known as Saint James the Moor Slayer. This legendary persona, rooted in the early medieval period, merges faith, folklore, and the fervor of centuries-long conflict into a symbol that has endured for generations. But who was Saint James, and how did he become such a potent emblem for Christian Spain during the tumultuous era of the Reconquista? To begin, we look to James the Great, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus, revered and remembered for his closeness to Christ and his missionary zeal. According to Christian tradition, after the resurrection of Jesus, James traveled far and wide to spread the gospel, eventually reaching the distant shores of the Iberian Peninsula. While historical evidence for his journey to Spain is scant, the legend took root early, intertwining his memory with the land's spiritual heritage. James's story does not end with his evangelization. In 44 AD, he was martyred in Jerusalem by the sword, becoming the first apostle to die for his faith. His followers, says tradition, spirited his remains away to Galicia, in the northwest of Spain. There, his tomb would be rediscovered centuries later, igniting the famous pilgrimage route known as the Camino de Santiago, a path that draws thousands of seekers to this day. But the tale of Saint James Matamoros emerges in a very different context, a time when the Iberian Peninsula was a battleground of cultures, religions, and kingdoms. In the early 8th century, Muslim forces crossed from North Africa and, in a sweeping conquest, established Al-Andalus, a powerful Islamic realm that would shape Spanish life for centuries. The Christian kingdoms in the north, however, remained defiant, sparking a protracted and often brutal struggle to reclaim the land. This centuries-long conflict, known as the Reconquista, became more than a mere military campaign. It was a crucible in which Spanish identity, faith, and legend were forged. Against this backdrop, the figure of Saint James underwent a remarkable transformation. The apostle, once known for his missionary work and martyrdom, became reimagined as a heavenly warrior, a champion who rode to the aid of Christian armies in their hour of greatest need. The legend tells of a pivotal moment in the 9th century, at the Battle of Clavijo. As the story goes, the Christian king Ramiro Fuoni of Asturias faced a seemingly insurmountable Moorish force. Desperate, he prayed for divine intervention. That night, Saint James appeared in a vision, promising victory. At dawn, as the two armies clashed, the apostle allegedly descended from the heavens astride a white horse, sword flashing, rallying the Christians and scattering their foes. Whether or not the Battle of Clavijo took place as described is a matter of debate among historians. Many agree that it is more legend than fact, a mythos crafted to inspire and unify. But the image of Saint James as Matamoros, literally the Moor Slayer, captured the imagination of medieval Spain. Depictions in art, sculpture, and song show him as a fierce knight, trampling vanquished foes and leading the Christian charge. His cry, "Santiago y Sierra, España," St. James and strike for Spain, became a rallying call for soldiers and a symbol of divine favor. This transformation of St. James into a warrior saint served several purposes. For the embattled Christian kingdoms, it was a sign that their cause was righteous, that God was on their side in the struggle against the powerful Islamic states to the south. It provided a sense of unity and morale in a time of fragmentation and uncertainty. Pilgrims flocked to Santiago de Compostela, the shrine at his supposed burial site, seeking protection and miracles, their journeys reinforcing the saint's status as a patron and protector. As the Reconquista wore on, through victories and setbacks, alliances and betrayals, the legend of Matamoros grew. He appeared in chronicles, sermons, and epic poetry, his story evolving to fit the needs of each generation. In the later Middle Ages, his image was emblazoned on banners, coins, and even the armor of Spanish knights. The cult of St. James became entwined with the very idea of Spain itself. His feast day celebrated with processions, festivals, and fervent prayer. Yet, The legacy of Saint James Matamoros is not without its complexities. To many, he remains a symbol of faith, courage, and the enduring power of belief in the face of overwhelming odds. But the title, Moor Slayer, also evokes the darker realities of religious conflict and intolerance. The Reconquista, while a formative chapter in Spanish history, was also marked by violence, displacement, and the deep scars left by centuries of war. In later centuries, as Spain expanded its influence overseas, the figure of Saint James would be invoked in new contexts, sometimes as a protector, sometimes as a justification for conquest. Today, the story of Saint James the Moor Slayer continues to provoke reflection and debate. In churches and cathedrals across Spain, his image endures, sometimes in traditional form, sometimes reimagined for a modern age. Pilgrims still walk the Camino, tracing ancient routes across fields and mountains, drawn by a mixture of faith, curiosity, and the search for meaning. For some, the legend is a source of inspiration. For others, a reminder of the need for understanding and reconciliation in a world shaped by many cultures and beliefs. The enduring power of the legend lies in its ability to speak to universal themes: the longing for protection, the hope for deliverance, the courage to face adversity. Saint James Matamoros, in all his complexity, stands at the crossroads of history, myth, and identity, a figure both celebrated and questioned, embraced and reinterpreted as each generation seeks to understand its past. As we look back across the centuries, we see in the story of Saint James a mirror of our own hopes and fears, our triumphs and tragedies. His legend is a reminder that history is not just a record of events, but a living narrative shaped by the stories we choose to tell and remember. Whether as apostle, pilgrim, or warrior, Saint James remains a potent symbol, inviting us to reflect on the ways in which faith, legend, and identity intertwine, and on the enduring human quest for meaning amid the tides of history.